In this video, we're going to look at the math of resource planning. Resource planning is one of a couple different levels of capacity planning that we do. If you look down below the red line here, this is a standard picture we see in many of our supply chain textbooks. That strategy drives our sales and operations planning, which drives our master production schedule, which drives our MRP. And so what we're looking at is planning at the resource level, which is tied to S&OP. And if you go back and look at what sales and operations planning is, it essentially, you could argue, kind of sizes the size of our business. So we look at our sales plan and we come up with our production plan, whether it's going to be chase or level or a hybrid strategy. But let's say we decide at the S&OP level, we're going to build 150,000 a month between January and December. And if you remember, sales and operations planning looks at overall volumes. It does not look at, part number, quantities, or specific dates. It's looking at overall volumes of product families, and we're trying to ascertain how big or how do we size ourselves properly. So we come up with 150,000 a month that we're going to build, let's say. And so S&OP says this is what we're going to build, and resource planning kind of looks at it and says, hey, nice plan, but have you got the resources to do it? And S&OP would say, well, I don't know, that's what your job is. So resource planning says, okay, since we're dealing with overall volumes, tell me what your average quantity per is for each of the families. And we're saying average because we don't have specific part numbers. And do it for your critical resources. So we may come back and say, okay, specific labor might be one of our critical bottlenecks, and it's going to be, 2 hours for each one that we're, let's say 2 minutes, I'm sorry. So 2 minutes for each one that we're making. And perhaps space might be a issue. So we've got 2 cubic feet per piece in our warehouse. Let's say those are the critical ones that if we don't have those handled, then we're going to be in trouble here. So if we look at labor, we're making 150,000 a month multiplied by 2 minutes per part. Then I need 300,000 minutes worth of labor. And if I break that down into, hours, I come up with 5,000 hours I need. So then I look at the resource that would provide that and really essentially ask the question, do we have 5,000 hours worth of labor? If we do, then I'm all set. If they come back and say, well, I only have 4,500 hours available and you need 5,000, then we've got to figure out that other 500. Same thing for space. If I wanted 150,000 units at 2 cubic feet, I need 300,000 cubic feet, and I would look at the warehouse space to see if I could handle that or not. If I do, and I am okay on all the critical resources, then resource planning comes back to S&OP and says, great, we got you covered. And if it doesn't, then we've dealt with, the shortage, so we can come back and say we got you covered. And if not, S&OP might have to change. But once it comes back with a yes, we got it covered, then we can pass on to the next level master planning or master production schedule, where we're going to look at the individual part numbers.